Hi everyone and welcome to episode 229 at Mighty White's podcast. I'm Jack, as always joined by Casey.
Oh.
And once again we've got Connie. How you doing, mate?
Pal, you alright?
Yeah, everyone's good. I suppose the main question coming out of that game against Ipswich is HMS Picks for League finally leaving Port?
Damn right it is. Damn right it is.
Yeah, we did talk a lot on the last podcast about Joel Perreault because it sounded like it was going to happen. But because we didn't record it until 7 o'clock on Thursday, we said, well, it ain't going to get done in time for this weekend, so we don't need to worry about it. Anyway, about 90 minutes later, it got announced that Leeds had signed Joel Perreault.
How many times has this happened over years when I were on before and that where we've been talking about things where it's speculation at minute and then literally we come off air, done.
Yeah, it does happen a fair bit. I know that the Square Ball had to re-record a load of stuff with Phil Hay just because it was all out of date. We luckily weren't as far out with us. But yeah, sounds like from Phil Hay it was 10.5 million is the upfront fee and it rises to about 16 depending on add-ons and stuff. We all agreed good signing and we should do it beforehand. There's nothing from the Ipswich game that's going to have changed any of us minds for that.
No.
So I was surprised that he got thrown straight in so quick. But when you looked at the front four going into the game at Ipswich, Perreault's suddenly thrown in up top, and suddenly you've got Sinisterra back on one wing, you've got Nonto on the other, and that front four suddenly looks like something that a league-winning side could have.
Yeah, definitely. I was saying to you, wasn't I, a little bit earlier, you look at that front four, it could do a job in Premier League, could that for me. It's packed of internationals and, mainly, players that have been sniffed around by Premier League clubs all summer and possibly might still, but it was gutted as well for me. Just looks completely transformed. I mean, where you took that equaliser, that wouldn't have happened that last year. It just didn't have the confidence in him to do it. But that was class from Rutter. I think he's been sound me all season, to be honest. Nice to see that goal.
Yeah, I think with Rutter there was the big complaint during the West Brom game that he didn't really seem to be putting himself about, and I think people were starting to get worried that he might be a little bit lightweight. So it was really nice to see him when he's going through for that goal that he's just sort of shrugging people off left and right, and going through them and looking that bit more physical. And I think it's done a lot of good for the fans to see that side from him because, obviously it will come back time and again that he has no control over the fee, but there is always going to be that pressure there now, especially with how long it's. We were talking in the car with Alex Pedersen earlier today, saying that he said, it's taken 8 months for that goal to come, and I went, yeah, but how many actual minutes has he played for that goal to come is significantly smaller. Yeah. So you just hope now that that's the sort of spark for him to give him that lift and we can keep that going. But you look at the players that are going to be around him going forward in Nonto, Sinisterra and Pirro, and you just think that's the attacking talent there is ridiculous for this level.
Yeah, we'll double back to it being a bit more chronological, but that 10 minutes from sort of the 10th minute to the 20th, you really were looking at that and seeing what was possible if we do this right. The entire front four all being heavily involved, all players with a lot of quality. And yeah, Rutter's goal, I was shocked with how good it was. It was one of them where I thought, he might come good, but it's been more just blind faith than some I've seen, because it's not like I watched all of his minutes at Hoffenheim or anything. That was the sort of goal that you see someone score that and go, oh no, there is not just a player in there, there's a really good player in there.
I think for me it was how he rolled that first tackle when he got the ball, but when he dragged it across his body and he just wiped out 2 or 3 of their players just in an instant they were gone, and the composure to put it away into that bottom corner again for someone who has had pressure on him. Let's be honest, like you said earlier, be it unjust or not because of his price tag, and that fact is it's there, and there was that pressure surrounding it, and longer it went on without him getting a goal, it was just getting more and more, wasn't it? But like you said, when he's getting bit part roles in a relegation battle last season in what wasn't a great team, let's be honest, it's always going to be a tough one for him. But yeah, hopefully it's a sign of what he can do, things to come, all being well.
Yeah. Well, that goal was at 1-0 down, Joe Rodon own goal. He had to put something on it. That's just a bit unlucky. The only thing is whether or not they're offside on the running behind Ayling. The TV camera angles aren't any good. You can't really tell, so I've no idea.
No. It's one of them. I mean, with your Leeds glasses on, you give call, don't you? But yeah, it is what it is. Like I say, Rodon's got to try and get something on it, and we're going to see that happen across the board, aren't we? However many times this year. But I think other than that, it was solid again for me. Rodon, really impressive.
There is a bit that we'll come to it later. The obviously then Leeds go 2-1 up at 3-4 minutes later. Yeah. Leeds keeping it well, play the ball around for a while. They just try to find room. Eventually it's Sam Byram that ends up with the room. Good cross into back post, bouncing up, and Nonto gets in ahead of his man and ahead of the keeper to poke it home. I mean, it's weird with Nonto because you still know what he did, so there's still a bit you're going fucking prick. But what is the best thing for Leeds? Him scoring goals, playing well, and this was as good a start as you could hope.
I think the good thing to see was everyone running over to celebrate with him as well.
Ayling especially was giving it like point.
Ayling was pointing and going, "Look what he did! Look at what that boy did." Which was good to see because you don't really want a Van Hooijdonk situation because that doesn't actually do anyone any good. I mean, a fair play to him for the goal as well. I know it's 2 yards out, but he throws himself into it to win that one because it's bouncing right at the far post, and he just chucks himself at it. So you get you see a certain level of commitment there as well out of him, which is quite nice. And I think now at this point you just say, right, just keep this up. If you keep this up, I think we can all kind of move on.
Yeah, it's one of them, and I think it's these couple of games away from home that are coming up. It were an ideal scenario for Farke to put him back in where it's not going to be as much of an hotbed for him to come back into the starting lineup. To be fair, I was watching game, and if there were any boos, it was very muted. There weren't, large pockets of fans doing it. If there were, it weren't coming through, onto the broadcast. So
I have heard people who were at the game saying similar. He got some stick, but not. Yeah. It seemed like Farke's words kind of got through. So it wasn't as vitriolic as you would have expected.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I like I say, with it being an away game, obviously there's far less. I think there were 2,000 or something, weren't there? Leeds fans there. So obviously it's going to be scaled down quite a lot, compared to chucking him back in if that fixture's at Elland Road. But he did well to get at the end of it, like KC says. It showed a bit of commitment and everything, which is obviously a good sign. But I think the ball in from Byram and all needs more credit than what it was. Absolute right ball in from him. I don't know if Oates come out. I haven't seen out about his injury, Byram. Hopefully it's no major because, again, up until him going off, it were sound again.
Yeah, it was a really good ball in. And then it was, another 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Leeds come out from back. Archie Gray pings a belting crossfield ball at Sinisterra. Sinisterra does probably the thing that he's absolutely best at, just gets one-on-one with someone, beats them, hits a shot. To be honest, it's not a very good shot. Keeper should catch it, doesn't, spills it. But because we have an actual striker in the team, he is in the middle of the goal, waiting for something like that, and has a tap in 19 minutes into his debut. Absolutely perfect start for Perot.
Just this is apropos of absolutely nothing. Pirro given the number 7 shirt. I'm not massively keen on it for a striker, but I'll live with it. So obviously 1 game, 1 goal, and we go down the list to last season, and it was Brendan Aronson, 40 games, 1 goal. So what I'm saying is Joel Pirro is miles better than Brendan Aronson.
Who coincidentally got sent off at weekend, apparently, after what I believe less than 25 minutes.
21 minutes, 2 yellow cards.
Yeah.
I believe that they were losing that game, and then he got sent off, and then they went on to win. But the thing is, that's actually bad for Leeds. We could do with Aronson being some good. Either to come back and be good if we went up, but more importantly, so we could get some money for him.
Yeah, it's one of them. I mean, it's a catch-22. You want him to fail miserably in party, but then you think, like you've just said, yeah, there's cash to be had here, though.
It's bad for us if he's bad.
Again, completely unrelated note, but Alex was going through the loanees weekend performances, and Christensen and Llorente both got hooks at halftime, and Max Verber got sent off as well. So, well done, Warriors.
I want to say, in summary, sterling work, boys.
After Leeds got to 3-1, Ipswich then did have sort of plenty of the game, but it wasn't like properly backs to the wall. It just calmed down a little bit. Obviously, Byron went off. The main thing in that was Byron went off. Cody Drammer came on at left back. And like I've said before, I think Cody Drammer's a good player, and I still stand by that. But he had a bad 25 minutes.
Do you know the thing that...
It isn't just the goal that everyone talks about. Like the first thing he did was give the ball away and leading to a big chance. He just never at any, even the one bit that he did well, where he like flicked it over someone's head and got away. He didn't look comfortable doing it. It just looked like he had no confidence.
I sort of, to me, I mean, I know obviously you take different things away from it, but for me, when he did mess up, he just didn't seem asked to try and make amends. I mean, that pass back for their goal. You saw other people come in, and obviously Meslier, you can see him pointing back to the middle, to say, look, someone try and get in there. And to be fair to him, he's not a million miles away from shot is Meslier when it comes back. Yeah. To my knowledge, I think it goes under him. But when I've seen the highlights back and you see it like reverse angle, you don't see Cody Drammer come back into that picture until the ball's long being it back at net and they're off celebrating. Now, for me, if you're getting an opportunity in that team, which, to be fair to him, he's earned over the last 2 seasons of loan spells he's had in Championship, but he just seemed to be not interested for me at all.
Yeah, with the links we have to various fullbacks, I wonder if that might be him and he's off.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say is, as bad of it's an awful first touch, lets it run under his foot, and he just plays the back pass blind, which he should never do. He isn't the only one to blame, though, because Joe Roden is 80% favourite to get to that ball, and he stops and tries to shield and doesn't move.
Yeah.
Now, whether the only thing I can assume is that Meslier shouted for it.
From what I saw, both when I was watching game and in highlights, it was very vocal when he was coming out at first, and you could, like I say, you could see him pointing back towards the middle. So yeah, I suppose it's one idea of it, isn't it?
Yeah, like obviously the main bit of like real poor play is the drama thing and playing the blind back pass, but it is weird because like if you're a centre out, if there is even 1% doubt that Meslier is going to get there, Roden can just get to that ball and just smash it out of play.
I mean, because let's face it as well, Ilan Meslier always commands his area.
Yeah. And the other thing is, this isn't even, and this is relevant. I know that they don't like just putting the ball out, but it's what, the 6th minute of stoppage time?
Yeah.
Like, it's right at the end of the half. And we did that a lot last season. Conceded goals at really bad times, like right on the stroke of half time and stuff like that. And obviously, in this game, it hasn't cost us, but it is something we need to keep an eye on because it was a bad thing to do. But something that I like in managers, drama off for Shackleton at half time. Didn't mess about, hooked him. And as much as it's never, you don't want to see a player have something like that, but I do like a manager that's assertive with things like that.
Yeah. And not only that, when Shackleton came on, he was one of the better players. After he came on for me, I thought he was absolutely brilliant, James Shackleton. I've said it before, I think this league's his level. He's comfortable in here. But yeah, for him to come on like that, and I mean, he can play various positions, obviously, we all know that. But for him to come in like he did there and play like he did, he didn't put a foot wrong for me. He came on, I thought we were absolutely class again.
Yeah, and obviously plays a really big part in the goal as well. Just before we go into that, I did think there was a couple of times when Ampadu took a few whacks through that game, because that one he gets absolutely clattered into before Shackleton picks it up and starts sprinting off into the distance. But yeah, there's a couple of times he seems to go into challenges against someone with arms raised. There's nothing doing with those. But yeah, Shackleton. I think he's at his best when he's industrious and he's really involved in the game. We saw that against West Brom. I think the only thing you'd probably level at him that playing at fullback is he probably doesn't have the height that you'd want there, but he can easily get up and down. I think he's got the passing ability for it. And you saw there his willingness to get up the field, and then his pass into Sinistera was perfect.
Yeah, we'll back Texas into that 4th goal. It's Ampadu jumping with Morsey. Kieran McKenna was going a bit mental, saying that it was a foul, but I really don't think it was. They just collided with each other and both went down. I don't know what's out in that. But Shackleton, it's a loose ball. He gets there first. And that's one of the things that you like to see. It wasn't a negative thought. He immediately saw, there's 25 yards of space and just set off running. And that's what you want to see from players in that kind of situation, because it catches them in a transition, and there takes it forward, plays a really good through ball in behind Brandon Williams, who's just come on. Sinistera just beats him very easily, finishes well. And one guy on Twitter made quite a lot of money because he got carried away when he saw our front 4 and backed them all to score. And then they did. So he was really happy. It's a really good goal. And again, in the predictions, we didn't all necessarily have him for top scorer or things like that, but every single one of us had. Sinistera has a good season if he stays. And he does, at this level, just look a cut above.
Yeah. It reminds me a bit, and I'm not saying he's going to have the same effects as him, but hopefully. It reminds you a bit of Adel Taarabt at QPR when they were in Championship. Whenever he played, you just looked and thought, yeah, when he decides he wants to do something, he'll do it.
Yeah, it just makes it look easy.
Yeah.
But it was
almost a why are you in the Championship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once we got to 4-2, they did come at us, because that is one thing that I think is about to say. Ipswich played pretty well, I thought. I still think they look a good side out of this.
Yeah.
They forced a couple of saves. They did get a goal in the 97th minute, which is a bit annoying, but in the end it didn't matter too much. Connor Chaplin, decent strike across the keeper. It looked like it took a little flick off Rodon that took it right into the corner. That's just unlucky. Can't do much about that. Melier is on one of them runs again where he's conceding loads of goals, but unlike the back end of last season, they haven't been his fault really.
No.
So it doesn't worry me conceding goals in terms of the goalkeeper. It worries me the defence as a whole. But judging by some links, this defence might change a bit in the next few days.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them, isn't it? You go through all 3 goals again really quickly of Ipswich. His first one's an own goal. Rodon's got to try and get something on it. Can't blame Eze for that. Second one is not a million miles away from it. From a poor back pass and just poor defending. Yeah. And like I say, with third, if it does technically flick off him again. But like I say, unlike last year, sorry, though, we seem to have a strike force again. It's not matches.
There is something in my head that worries me about conceding 45 plus 7 and 90 plus 7. That concentration thing, that probably needs a bit of work. But yeah, that's what Kieran McKenna said after the game. He was saying, he talked him up a bit more because he would do in that situation. But the main thing he said was they had better players. And we got punished by that. And I think that's fair. We did have better players on the pitch. We had players that cost a lot of money that Ipswich don't have. And in this game, they played like they were players that cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's amazing what 2 players returning and 1 signing did to that team, because all of a sudden, you had 2 international quality players playing out wide, and you had someone who scored nearly 40 goals about 40 goals in 2 seasons in the Championship up front as well. And all of a sudden you kind of looked across that team and just thought, well, I know Byram's out of position and we kind of had to have a bit of a reshuffle there, but we looked something like an actual football team. And then you look down the bench and thought, we're down 1. We've only got 1 goalkeeper on the bench. Happy days. Somerville's back on the bench, but not fully fit. And then you've got the likes of Greenwood in there. You've got Gelhardt there, Cresswell, and on top of that, you've still got Dan James come back from injury, Bamford's come back from injury, and if you have. Just talking about the front 4, if you've got that front 4 playing, and then you've got James, Somerville, and Bamford to kind of, and Gelhardt to back those 4 up, that's depth that we've sorely lacked, there, and it's really, it's really nice to have that there. We just need to make sure by the end of the window we kind of plug the gaps at centre mid and at left back. I heard people talking after the game on Radio Leeds talking about getting 5, 6, 7 players, and you're like that. It'd be great, but you're looking at a squad that's had a lot of turnover. Let's focus on the core that we've got now, and if we need to add 1 or 2 to it, then yes, let's do it. But if you told me now that we were only going to get a left back in, I'd probably be okay with that, because I know it's probably putting a bit more pressure on Archie Gray than you'd like, but I trust him and him and Ampadu in the middle at the moment. I would be happy enough with Greenwood and JB coming in.
You've got Bate and Shackleton after that as well.
Yeah, Shackleton. The options are there. Obviously the unfortunate thing was Byram going down injured, and that's going to be the question this season as to how many games you can get out of Byram. And obviously one day Junior Firpo will return and he will make a fine addition to the bench.
God, there's very few things that I'd find more fun than if Junior Firpo just in the Championship decided to be Real Betis Junior Firpo. It'd be so nice to have a left back. But no, it's a massive result, that, because I don't think there's going to be many teams win away at Ipswich.
No.
And if we believe, even half believe, the various journalists out there, we are going to have a busy end to this transfer window.
I'm with Kay saying that I would like to see another midfielder come in. This is providing that obviously no one else goes now. But if we're saying that, I would like to see another midfielder come in. And then, like KC says, look at the left back thing. If we can get 2, 3 would be brilliant. But if we could get a midfielder and a left back for me, I'd be happy with that. I mean, we have got the people there. It's just, like I said, it's a long season and it's grueling as well. So it would be nice to have some sort of depth that, we haven't had since Bielsa. Well, before Bielsa, because
I would argue Bielsa didn't have depth. He just was such a good coach, but it didn't matter.
No, that's it. I mean, but when Bielsa came in, you just kind of. So what we're talking there now, 5 years probably now. We just haven't had a big squad.
So I'll go for there is still talk about that Jonathan Pansel from Genk, but I don't. That's going a bit quieter. And with the number of wingers we've got, you'd think we're only signing a winger if one goes. The Amiri deal is still, it's on again, it's off again, it's on again, it's off again. There is some football reasons, but it sounds like the main thing is his missus is pregnant. He doesn't know whether he wants to move country and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. But we've talked about them a bit the last podcast. We didn't actually talk about him last time, even though it's been going on so much. The Glenn Kamara thing came back again. This time, like Fabrizio Romano saying, all the terms are agreed and everything, it's just a matter of it happening. Which makes me wonder if we're holding off on that because there's others that we like more.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, there's all this talk, like we said, of Amiri and Lewis O'Brien and various others. It does make you wonder. I know it sounds like a bit of a cliche again, but are we going to go out and spend the best? Is it £5-6 million? Is it roughly that I've heard?
I believe 5 was the figure being bandied about.
So, are we going to go out and sign some £5 million who, with best will in world, playing at SPL, or are we going to go and try all out and get an Amiri who's playing in Bundesliga and is a German international? And it does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, there's an interesting one that broke today, and I am not going to pretend to have seen him play more than 3 games. In fact, 2, because I don't think I watched the 3rd Japan game at the World Cup. But Ayo Tanaka, the centre mid for Fortuna Dusseldorf, 24 years old. There's a story going around that we are in for him. It's in build, 2.5 to 3 million. He was in that Japan team that did so well at the World Cup. Start of the games, he was the one that scored the winner against Spain. In that game, I know he got man of the match, and I remember him playing well. But that is my entire knowledge on the subject. People who do watch, proper football nerds who watch the Zweite Bundesliga have said, that money, that's a really good signing. And one of the things with him that I think makes Tanaka make a bit of sense, if he's coming from the Zweite Bundesliga for 2.5 to 3 million, he won't be such mega money that he needs to start every game. And we probably, if we are going to blow Archie Gray, someone who would play some of the games and be on the bench some of the other games kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think ideally you probably want Archie Gray to be maybe playing 2 out of every 3, over the course of a season. So you might have a run where you play 4 or 5 games and then maybe miss a couple. But again, like you, I can't claim to know a whole lot. But again, Japan have been a decent team for a few years now, and they've been producing quite good players over the last sort of 10 years, I'd probably say. And obviously we've had fantastic success with our brief dalliances with Japanese midfielders, but
brilliant.
Yosuke Deguchi aside. For that sort of money, even in the championship, you'd have to think it's probably worth a punt.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if it happens. But then there's 2 other links that are both ones that I am far more excited about. Jed Spence So it sounds like us and about 3 other teams are all trying to get him on a season-long loan. I know that a left back is more needed than a right back, but I can't think of an attainable right back who suits the way Daniel Farke wants the right back to play more than him. High, wide, get forward a lot, engine, run like foot, get up and down. He really would suit perfectly.
Yeah, if we could get that one over the line, that'd be brilliant. It's been on people's radar now, and if at least a season and a half, and
once Spurs bought him and didn't start playing him, I think everyone who was lower down went, "Oh, he could be available."
Yeah, and it's like you say. I think other than Max Aarons, he's your man who's gonna do what Farke wants a fullback to do. Yeah, if we could get that one done, that'd be I think again that'd be a statement as well from us if we could pull that one off.
Yeah. As a sort of barometer of where excitement levels are for Jed Spence, people who I've had messages from like people that don't message me about Leeds all the time, but they've messaged me going, "Is this Jed Spence thing right?" Because they like they're like, "Oh, does it seem like it's from somewhere reliable?" Because even they're like, "Yeah, this seems like it makes all the sense in the world." And then the other one, which broke sort of as KC was driving us back up from London, Luke Thomas from Leicester for left back. A player that I wanted us to sign when we were in the Premier League and thought that we'd be paying a shitload of money for if we did. But since Enzo Maresca took over at Leicester, they've been playing that Callum Doyle at left back because they've been sort of inverting into like a basically a Man City 3-2-3 kind of shape where everything's narrow. So they don't really want a left back. What they want is a central player who drops into left back. So they've been playing Callum Doyle, and he has been playing really well in that role. So with only a year left on his deal, it sounds like he might be available, either permanent or for loan. I assume the loan would be he signs an extension to his contract and goes out on loan. Or maybe there is a deal there to be done. And I would love us to get him because I think he's a really good young English left back, and there aren't many of them about. And when he's played 40 or 50 Premier League games for him and looked good doing so.
Yeah, if he's not going to fit their system and he's available, then yeah, like you said, if we'd have signed him and would have still been back in Premier League, I'd have been happy enough with it. But in this league, yeah, definitely. That's the first I've heard of that one. I'll be honest with you.
It broke a little bit. It was at the Leicester end that stuff started coming out. And that, like, the first thing I saw was because I've done a few TalkSport things. There's a guy there, Jason Bourne, who's covers Leicester a little bit, and he's like head of sports news or something. And I saw him tweeting out about it, saying it looks like this is going. And he was saying that he'd heard a whisper that basically, because James Maddison and Daniel Farke are mates, James Maddison is the one who sort of said to Farke, "Hey, I've heard he might be available."
Right.
Maybe he should. Now, I don't know how right that is, but that was where it started. But since then, the Daily Mail ran a piece on it sort of independently. Phil Hay has started talking about it as well. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but it sounds like there's something to it.
I would be very happy if something can be done with this. One, we are obviously crying out for a left back, but always easy to get a bit more excited about young English players, especially. He's fresh off winning the 21s European Championship as well at the ripe old age of 23. Yeah. But no, like I know it's kind of becoming the fashionable thing for clubs to go to this inverting full back and like you say, playing with your back three and then sort of two holding mids almost, while the other five press higher up. But if you are going to play with attacking fullbacks, he is an ideal option for us. He's absolutely got the legs for it. Likes to get forward, can link up well with a winger or get a cross in. And yeah, I think, like you say, I think he would suit our style absolutely perfectly.
And I think it'd give us the option, if we played a team where the left back was a lot better than the right back, to, instead of being high and wide right back, go high and wide on the left side and tuck in that side. If you've got a more higher quality left back that's an actual left back, basically, it gives you a little bit more tactical flexibility.
I'll just be happy for us to have a decent left back, to be honest. From a club that's famously had shite left backs for the majority of the fucking existence, So yeah, it'd be nice.
This is all a theory, essentially, because once he gets here, none of this will happen. It will all go terribly, and
we'll pull off the signing, and he'll become rubbish.
He will become Dan Harding.
Wow. Whoa.
So again, if out of everyone there that's linked, including the ones we barely talked about, like Pencil and stuff, if you could only have one,
mine would be. Oh God, guess it.
For me, it's got to be Luke Thomas.
Yeah.
As much as I like Jed Spencer, and again, like you say, he fits the profile perfectly. We have the options there at right back at the moment, whereas, I know through injuries and performance, but we went through 3 right-footed players at left back in one game.
Yeah.
Let's get a left back.
Yeah, I'm with Kirsty on this one. Not against
I think it's unanimous.
Yeah, it's just like Kirsty says, we've got the numbers at right back. Just if it weren't for that, I'd be saying Spence as well. But Luke Thomas, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that we need most. But if I was betting right now, I think it will be that Leeds try and get 2 fullbacks in the centre mid, and Drama goes. And if Drama doesn't go, it's probably 1 fullback, whether that's right or left, because Farker does he seems to not mind a right-footed left back at all. I think if Drama goes, we'll get 2 fullbacks in the centre mid, and if he doesn't, we'll get 1 fullback in the centre mid.
Yeah.
So all that's left to talk about briefly, and none of us know anything about Salford.
Hey, whoa.
That hotbed of footballing talent there in Salford. It's where Man United play. Let's not forget this.
Yeah.
Obviously there are connections.
There's connect Leeds in there. Salford tomorrow night, 8 p.m, live on Sky Sports, which makes things easier. We'll talk about the most likely to affect the game Leeds connection last. So we'll start with Luke Garbutt at left back. Left before he started playing, wandered off to Everton, just didn't work out. Was there for 10 years and played about 4 games. Very famous clip of Carlo Ancelotti being asked about him. Luke Garbutt has looked like leaving the club, and he said, "Who?" So that was a weird one.
That's got to be soul destroying.
Yeah. Well, it just happened this week, didn't it? With Malang Sarr and Pochettino being asked about him, and he didn't know who he was.
A lot easier to take on the chin when you're on Malang Sarr's reported wages. Begs the question: where has he been?
Alex Cairns in goals, who has been a very solid keeper at League One level for years now. He's been a good goalkeeper for a while. Glad to see him do well. The only game he ever played was when he replaced Rahubka, wasn't it?
And a fine performance it was as well, following on the trail of performances from that Rahubka had put in prior to that, setting fire to every goal he stood in, basically. It's a good job in that team. We were all right going forward because there was a lot of trouble there. But no, Alex Cairns has built himself a nice little reputation. Every time he comes up, I'll always mention when he started getting. I think he pulled off like a fantastic triple save, didn't he? That went round everywhere, and I think even David De Gea was tweeting saying that's brilliant.
This is one of the best bits of goalkeeping you'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, good, good for him as well. Because he's got a bit of a story, hasn't he, as well with his brother.
Yeah.
So I'm quite glad because obviously you see a lot of players that play it at 18, 19 and can drop out of football altogether. So I'm glad he's fed himself a nice little nest in sort of that level.
Yeah, looking at their results, it's been a bit mixed. But other than the game where they got a man sent off, they are scoring plenty of goals. And I'm choosing to believe that the reason for that is big Matt Smith up top.
University graduate, big Matt Smith.
You would think that if the narrative is to be believed, Matt Smith's scoring in this game. They've also got it is actually a decent front players because we've got Conor McAlerney as well, and he's a decent player. And I don't really know much about Callum Hendry, but he seems to have scored a fair few goals.
Yeah. Matt Smith does kind of bother me. As stupid as this sounds, it does bother me.
Not stupid at all. Remember when we were talking about Birmingham and we talked about the type of striker that always scares Leeds? Matt Smith is that type of striker.
Yeah. You just, if they're going to start firing balls into our area, given how ropey our defence is, yeah, it does. And it is, like you say, it's nailed on. He's going to score, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's going to lift up a T-shirt with a message in Italian, finally firing back at Cellino.
Yeah.
For all these years.
Yeah, he'd just be purple number 17.
On his back is a picture of Paddy Kenny.
Now, having a brief glance, they sometimes play 4-2-3-1 and they've played a 3-4-3 as well. Maybe they'll go. When they played Tranmere, they went with a 3 because they had quite an attacking front 3. So I wonder if they'll do it again against us. Because even if we rotate, we'll have that sort of shape with a lot of players going forward. So maybe they will. I suppose the other question is how strong a team do you think we'll pick? Because he rotated a decent amount in the first round, didn't he?
I'd probably do similar again, depending on availability for injuries and what have you. I'd be quite happy to see a quite heavily rotated squad to the best that we can, obviously. But at this stage, especially, I stand by it. With bigger fish to fry, if a rotated squad gets through, brilliant, happy days. If not, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to. I think we'll see 6 or 7 changes to the team, to be honest, because I think we do have enough depth to start making a few of those changes. Whether or not you want to use this as a game to push anyone, so obviously Somerville was on the bench. Whether that is worth giving him the first 45. To get him a bit of game time under his belt. But yeah, I think we'll make the changes, and I'd like to think we can still put out a team that will be strong enough. But there were issues against Shrewsbury when we did make those changes.
Yeah, you'd assume Darlow's in goal instead of Melier. If we are not planning on immediately selling Cody Drammer, this is the game to play him at right back.
Yeah.
If we're not selling him. Because I know he just had a stinker, but if the plan is to keep him, play him and see if we can get some confidence into him. Cresswell probably starts. And then whichever one of Roden and Strauch is less knackered.
Yeah.
Because Cooper's still injured.
To me, I'd put Strauch in, to be honest, out of 2.
Yeah. we're short on left backs, and Shackleton might need to play centre mid for this, so probably Yelder.
Yeah.
Who, I must admit, it doesn't say much for Farker's current opinion of Yelder that he didn't get on at left back in that game. So he'd probably come in. Ampadu has played every game, as has Gray.
Yeah, I'd be quite happy to see that rotated.
I definitely wouldn't play Archie Gray. I'd just have him on the bench.
Yeah.
And if we can not play Ampadu, I'd probably be all right with that. But if we do, I'd like him to not play more than an hour.
Yeah. I'd like to see like JB and like I say Shackleton possibly in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Bate as well, but basically just like Gray, definitely you don't want to push him too hard. No. Paveda being out's a shame. I agree. I think Somerville will start because he didn't play, so he should have. It should be good to get some minutes in his legs. Yeah. Joffrey will probably play. Sam Greenwood should probably get.
Yeah, give him a run out. Yeah,
and then I think I'd probably have Pirot on the bench for this one, but I think I would start Rutter still because he's just getting some confidence. I'd like him to keep it going.
Yeah, I would at the minute. Yeah, totally agree with you. If he's got his goal now and he looks like the confidence is coming with him, I mean, we don't know obviously because we've not seen him on a good streak yet, really, have we? But if he is that sort of player. When he's playing well, as keeper mid-team, there's no reason why he can't play that Ipswich game and then play against Salford. There's no reason to lead you to believe that he can't. It's not like he's been. I know he had that knock at start season, but for the main, he should be more than capable of playing both these games.
Yeah. So last thing, predictions. Casey carried on his lead because he. Basically, everyone had a win at Ipswich except for me, who was negative, so I am now last. Alex has already sent his in for the Salford game. He's got us winning 2-0. I've got us winning 2-1.
I'm going to have us to win 3-0.
3-0 win.
And I'm going to say that we win 3-1.
3-1. See, you've got to have the one because we've all just said, I mean, Matt Smith is going to score.
Yeah.
Right, it's nailed on. So, yeah, that I will, just because we are that near the end of the transfer window and things keep breaking quickly, I will just quickly look at Phil Hayes' Twitter before I do anything. Yep, nothing extra. Cool, good to go. So, yeah, that will do us because we've all been rushing about a bit and we actually have like families to see and things like that. So, that will do us for episode 229 at Mighty White's podcast. I mean, the games of the weekend, we play Tuesday. It'll be around Thursday, I guess. But truth be told, my work shifts are shit this week. So it might end up being a weird one where, like, just me and Casey have to do it at midday on a weekday. Or
if it's... we'll talk about that, yeah.
Basically, it's the US Open at work. So I'm working till, like, 2 a.m. and shit. It's no good this week. But yeah, that will do us for episode 229. I've been Jax here.
I've been KC, and I'm very tired.
And I've been